All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to our school building committee. This is the Thursday, June 9, 2022 meeting. Our first item on the agenda is the approval of the May 26 minutes. Those were posted this afternoon. If everyone has had a chance to review them, we can take a motion to approve the minutes.
I move we approve.
Thank you, Chris. Is there a second? Kathy, thank you. Are there any corrections? Okay, seeing none, then all in favor of approving the May 26 minutes, please give me a sign. Okay, thank you. Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, thanks. Then that brings us to our OPM update. Adam.
Everyone. So I'll do a quick just run around the building, and I'll let Al speak more to the specifics of items. But I also wanted to talk about the just upcoming move activities, as well as some tree photos. And one item I did want to point out as we move throughout the night, we did receive today, and I uploaded to the folder some responses to Paula Ronan comments that they do their site visits, etc. Those responses are from Newfield. So if you want to take a peruse through those as we go through the meeting, if you haven't already, I did just want to make that known to the committee because those have come up frequently in the past meetings with regard to outstanding quality items and things of that nature. In large, the building is still progressing as it has been. Additional windows installed in the B wing. The solar panels have started going up on the B wing, the actual panels themselves, not just the boots, and that seems to be progressing well. In terms of the siding, we've got the zinc siding going around the back side, but based on the owners meeting today, Newfield indicated that in a week or two, the Ipe siding, the wood Ipe siding will start getting installed as well. In terms of just infrastructure, the transformer, the main electrical transformer was set and tied in. So there's currently a date from Newfield for permanent power to the building to be provided on June 23rd, but that actually might be sooner just because the Eversource work happened more quickly and the Newfield subs were able to accommodate it. So that might be a good milestone that's hit in advance of what was anticipated.
That's a phrase that I have not heard on this project sooner. Thank you.
Every once in a while, I like to share good news. In terms of the interior, still drywall, painting, electrical rough-in, that kind of thing. They have provided dehumidification units, so millwork has started to be installed in terms of the cabinetry in some of the classrooms. And in the gym, they've actually got some painting going on in that area too, up at the gym, at the trusses. With regard to the next couple weeks, we've got the first of the move out activities scheduled for June 14th. That's for the library portion of the existing Southeast school. And then subsequently to that, last day of school is June 20th, with last day of staff on June 21st, and then a couple of remaining front office staff on June 22nd. But for all intents and purposes, the bulk of the move out activities starts in earnest on June 22nd, with movers coming in, taking the items that have been boxed up and tagged and moving them to their respective locations at Vinton and Goodwin, as well as activities at Vinton and Goodwin to move the appropriately sized furniture for each grade to the correct building. So by the time we meet next time, moving will be in full swing, and the existing Southeast building will be in its last few days of operation. The one other item I wanted to share, any questions on the move of the building before I just share a couple of photos of the tree buffers that were requested by the committee? Oh. Okay, so let me just share my screen quickly. So there's some photos of the tree buffer from a couple different vantage points. This is from the neighbor's yard where you can kind of see the school from their perspective as the hill comes down. off to the right as well. This is from the school at the second floor. I think it was Steve that suggested taking some of these photos. So this is from the second floor at that balcony area, looking across. And this is the house that had the sort of bird's eye level concern of seeing into their windows. Oops, sorry about that. So I went out and measured that tree for reference. And so this tree is approximately 8 feet tall. So to give you a sense of what screening might look like in terms of that height level at the top of the ridge here. Again, just a couple more photos showing you what the neighboring properties look like from the school building. This is actually one of the windows that was installed, so it's peering through a classroom like one would see it. Then over to the far lot behind the reservoir. This is that same neighbor that I showed earlier with the 8-foot tree, except from ground level. This is the vantage point. So at the balcony, you were looking across at that neighbor. This is that same vantage point directly below it, looking at that neighbor. So you can see the grade here blocks most of the view. So it's really from the second floor that you can see into their property. And that matches what they indicated in terms of being able to, when they're in their upper floor bedrooms, they look out and they're at eye level with the people working on the second floor level at the school. This is just the photo of that 8-foot tall tree on that ridge. Not all of them are that tall. That was just the one that seemed the most useful for the purposes of kind of getting a vantage point. So in terms of next steps, I have to set up a meeting with the Planning and Zoning Department. One of the items that will come out of whatever additional steps are required is a coordination with the Planning and Zoning Commission as part of the overall site and landscaping. Particular focus will be if there's a desire for some sort of fence or whatnot. So before final plan is established, I want to ensure that there's alignment between planning and zoning and this committee, as well as bringing in the concerns of the neighbors. So we don't get way too far down the line and then find out there's a grave issue or concern with the Planning and Zoning Commission when there's a site plan amendment. Any questions on that? But again, I just wanted to provide a follow-up and an update to the committee on the neighbors.
Chris?
There was something that I read about, you had the landscape people come out and a few trees were not planted where specified.
Correct. There were 4 trees that they weren't actually shipped to the site. They did a recount and 4 trees were missing. Those trees were over by the, I'll share my screen again, bear with me.
You mean where they were supposed to be was?
Correct. So there are 4 additional trees, not of this size, but of the smaller size that were missing from right here.
Where you're not showing your screen right now.
Oh, I'm not. Oh, I'm sorry. How about now?
Okay.
So they're right in this location here. The flags are still there. It was just miscounted. So the landscape architect caught that as part of their walkthrough, and the contractor is coming on Monday, I believe, to provide the additional trees.
Tony?
Given the more recent school shooting, has there been any further thought on the part of the school community about whether they would like some kind of fencing around the back of the building?
I've not heard any. I don't know if Kelly or Peter have heard any discussions about that.
No, there's been no discussion that I'm aware of.
There are doors at the back of the building that could be used to enter the school, right?
Yes, that will be locked throughout the school day and probably all the time. Those are not primary entrances. The only school doors that get unlocked are the entrances that are used for arrival and dismissal, and there are protocols in all of our schools as to who and when those doors are unlocked, and then who's responsible and when to lock them again.
Okay.
I just want to remind everybody that the site has, and the building itself, very early on in the design process, went through a complete security review with such members as, at the time, our chief of police, our town emergency management officer, and our town fire officials. So this plan has been thoroughly reviewed for safety multiple times. Actually, that was a multi-step process. And in addition, we will be required to create a school safety and security plan for this new building that will be reviewed at the state level as well. So I think we've been very careful to ensure that all elements of this building meet Connecticut guidelines. And by the way, which happen to be some of the best in the country, because ours were developed, unfortunately, post Sandy Hook, but Connecticut's really been a leader in this work. And this school has, as any new construction would, has gone through a very careful review.
Can I ask a second question, Randy?
Sure, go ahead.
Is everybody satisfied, including the neighbors, that this this plan to screen the building and to screen the houses is adequate? I mean, as far as I can see, that it'll take a decade before these trees actually provide screening.
Oh, to that point, I don't want to speak for committee members, but I have been operating under the presumption that what is currently shown is not sufficient, and that additional something, whether it be plantings or fencing or whatnot, should be procured. It's just a matter of identifying what that is. For example, if we doubled the amount of trees as shown on here, it still wouldn't provide any sort of immediate relief. So it's just not a matter of throwing more trees as specified onto the situation. It's identifying what makes the most sense, and that's the bit that needs a little more coordination. So that way we don't get and assume that a 10-foot fence should be approved, and then the Planning and Zoning Commission goes, timeout, we're not approving that. And then it goes back and forth ad nauseum with no one satisfied. So I have been operating on the presumption that more is needed.
Thank you.
Chris McNamara. Oh, you're muted, or I can't hear you. Now that shows you're unmuted, but I don't hear you.
Is that better?
Yes, there we got you.
Sorry. We've learned a lot of things with every unfortunate shooting that we've experienced since Sandy Hook. And I don't know if it's at all worthwhile to spend the additional resources to review our plan again in light of other things that have happened. And I know the best laid plans of a school to keep doors locked can run afoul of somebody going outside to the play area with a group and forgetting their key or whatever they need to get back in and propping something open. And, I just would want to take this opportunity one last time to perhaps do some type of review that might help us make the right decision, whether it's fencing or trees that we use for the buffer, since it's been brought to our attention that we might choose either or to add at this point, and what might be the best use of that additional dollars.
I just want to be careful that you don't think that the Connecticut standards were developed 10 years ago, because they're standards that are constantly revised. And the building will go through another security review when we write the security plan for the building. I think at this point, I don't know that there are any standards that we haven't already applied to this building. So we can do another review, but I don't know that there's any new information. The other thing that's important to understand is that whenever there is an event such as Sandy Hook or what happened in Texas, it takes a period of months for people to examine what exactly happened and to establish a new set of standards or practices. So there would be nothing new at this time for us to consider that we know to be practices that have a positive effect, or design elements that have a positive effect. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Absolutely, Kelly. Thank you for that. I didn't realize they were constantly reviewed like that. That's really reaffirming. I guess I'm just thinking, since Adam has brought up the possibility of us considering additional coverage in the back, whether it's trees or fencing, if we might consider one over the other, that would have more of a dual purpose. That's all.
Well, if you're thinking about fencing, in order to have a benefit, I think, to the people in the back, you're talking about fencing that is that you can't see through, right? So I think you have to think about all kinds of aesthetics and such if you're considering that. Maybe there are some newer options, but there's nobody from TSKP on here today.
Yeah,
Help
Jeff.
us.
Yeah, I'm here.
Trying to-
Okay, Jeff, I don't know if you want to weigh in on this conversation.
About the trees and the privacy.
Well,
In fencing and safety.
Oh,
question came up since the recent events. Do we need to do a review of safety, whatever safety measures that might be worth considering? And it came up in the context of additional trees or fence back by the neighbors. So I don't know if you have anything to, or maybe you didn't hear enough of the conversation.
yeah, I don't think I heard enough of the conversation. I was in the middle of a meeting with Taisu quick. So, yeah, I think it's worth doing some investigation and seeing if it makes sense to, rather than the hedges and the buffers, to maybe do a fence. But I worry about the fence because, I don't know. I guess it's up to you guys, but I think we got enough fencing on the project. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we need more fencing because of the condition of the security and the safety around the building. I know in Manchester, they required fencing around the entire area of the school. But in this case, I think the property was very large and it had Parks and Rec and everything next door. So it might be worth reinvestigating.
Let me
I guess
do
the
this.
the question would be, what is it, 6 foot tall? I guess it would have to be a 6 foot tall fence then, right?
Well, and that's part of it too, is, as we saw in that one photo, an 8 foot tall tree it just barely started to cover up part of the neighbor. So what I wouldn't want to do is to go down the route of developing something that doesn't meet safety and doesn't meet screening, but it's technically a fence. So what I can do is part of the discussions with planning and zoning, with Jeff, you and I can touch base as well, and understand that there's the desire to understand if there's an additional security benefit that might be gained from putting in a fence versus a hedge, and see if that adds in to the discussion. And that's just one of the other considerations in addition to privacy screening, as part of the ultimate plan of what goes.
Yeah, I think what we'd have to consider is how we end that fence. Where does it stop? Does it just continue?
Well, exactly, and that's part of it too. So I have that for my notes, and we'll bake that into the discussion for what goes in the buffer.
Can I say something, Ray?
Go ahead, Chris.
Regarding the trees, they grow. They get thicker, they get bushier. That spruce tree, I believe it's a spruce tree that you cited, the 8 foot tree, that'll grow between 1 foot and 2 feet a year, especially when it's going to have a lot of sun, which it will because there's not much else around it. So I think, looking at that one and saying, oh, gee, it's going to get bigger. It's going to be doing a better job of screening if that's what the neighbors want. I don't know what all the neighbors want, but I imagine some are more apt to want screening and others don't want screening. So I think, that's something to consider. Some may want access to the school. It's kind of a perk for some people at Vinton that they have access to the area on the weekends and so forth. So anyhow, I think the jump to doing this, I think we should take it a little more slowly. Again, realize that trees grow, which is why we like plants in there. And as far as I think Kelly has answered very well the security issues. Any maniac can figure out 100 different ways to get where they want to go, with or without a fence. So we could be trying to front run that kind of thing forever without success. So I think we should maybe just look into things, fine, but I think this hot pursuit, which is what I feel like is beginning to happen, we just need to stop and take a look and again recognize that these plants grow and that they're not all in there yet.
Okay. Oh, Steve, go ahead.
So before we let Adam go, Adam, thank you for the photos. They were very helpful. With regard to the weekly construction report, there were a couple of things that jumped out to me, one of which was under problems encountered. Number 8, that Firestone roof inspection reports are worthless, and that hopefully an 8-inch minimum requirement will be addressed. Can you speak to that at all? And what are these reports that are helpful, and what are we worried about with that?
Yes. So in broad strokes, there was a detail that Firestone, the manufacturer, typically requires an 8-inch clearance as part of their warranty process. One of the items that Joe Luciano from Colliers identified was it appeared that that 8 inches wasn't going to be met based on the way that the roof was constructed in the field, and wanted to flag that notion as something that the manufacturer needs to identify if it's going to be a problem or not with the warranty. My understanding from what I heard today at the OAC, the owners meeting rather, is I believe that confirmation from Firestone has been received. I've not yet seen it, but that's one of the items we're following up on, because there were a number of inspections from the manufacturer that didn't speak to that condition. Hence the comment that the reports didn't address this item that has been flagged. Please resolve the question as to whether or not it's going to be acceptable. So as I said, I believe it's been resolved, but that's one of the items still to follow up on to finally get that confirmation in writing from the manufacturer, so there's no problems later.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, any other items, Adam, that you're going to present tonight?
Not as part of this. I'll come back on as usual for change orders.
Okay. All right, then we'll move on to the architect's update. Jeff, do you have things to share with us?
Yeah, I don't have much other than had multiple discussions with Ronnie over there at Newfield. The procedure that we're going to start doing is with the field reports or the site observation reports, is that he is going to be photographing, checking in, and responding to every item on our reports, hopefully before I submit the next report out, so that we can start to resolve all those items. And it looks like they have. For the most part, there's still 2 or 3 on my report that they need to address, but we have a procedure in place, and I will be forwarding those to everybody along with my field report, so that you see that everything's being taken care of, because I'm sure it's alarming when you get these things from us and you don't know if they're being fixed or what's going on. And so I just want to assure you that that they're going to be on top of that from here on out, so that you see what's going on and how things are being repaired and fixed. And that's about it. That's all I have.
Right. So as like, for instance, at our last meeting, there were a number of questions about the Colorona report, but Newfield apparently is dealing with those things and tracking them and working on them. It's just, we haven't had that feedback, that confirmation that they are following up on those things. And so that should be in the reports from now on for the committee. Are there questions for Jeff? Chris?
Jeff, I appreciate your saying that these things are alarming, because they really are when you go through them. Us, well, those of us that have less experience in this and seeing these things that appear to be significant and will require kind of jury rigging to fix, it is alarming to see. And you are comfortable with what you're seeing, and
yeah, actually,
I
did my
Randy
own.
said the key thing that we don't know. We don't get a clean report that this check has been checked off. It doesn't come out that way on the stuff that we see, at least not in the way I'm reading it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So for instance, the supports for the rails that I noticed were being buried, they cut all those out. They sent me photographs, and I do have a very large magnet I'm going to bring next time and just confirm that they're not still in there. No, just, and then the
Trust
things with,
but verify, huh?
right. And then the foundation stepping along the gym, there were those little vertical pieces of stud framing. Those are in and they are mechanically fastened. They're not going to pull out. They're not removable, and they all have been done. So they're doing what they need to do. I'm just on them that I would, and I think they're interested in this as well. If they want a certificate or a substantial completion letter from me, I don't want a 150-page punch list that's still open. I can't give them that letter unless we're at like 0 items. So that procedure I've expressed needs to be taken seriously, so that in the end I can start reducing things as we're going along. So in August and July, I don't have a huge punch list. So that's the goal. We'll see if it happens, but if we can stay with that momentum, I think we can achieve, 80-90% of that.
Okay, other questions for Jeff? All right, then, thanks, Jeff. Then we'll move on to the contractor update. Al?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll share my screen here. Can everyone see?
Yes, we can.
So I'm going to start. We don't have any drone photos today because our drone was out of power, but we will have more next meeting. Starting in the south side, this is the rear retaining wall and stairs. They've started doing the finish work on this. They still have a little bit more to do. Other site work, they're installing site light bases and starting to prep some of the work for the bus loop. This is the bus loop area right here. The scoreboard was relocated this week, so that's in its final location now. This is a shot from away. They've got the storm drainage basins in place. They've started the sidewalk base material, which they had to do, otherwise they'd get trapped between the curbing and the fence. So the plan is to put the curbing in next, and then finish the sidewalk base material. This is the pump house. The bollards went, fence posts and bollards went in this past week, and they're going to be prepping this for pouring next week. Includes a dumpster and compactor pad. The rest of the concrete around the generator and the traffic pad above the fire water tank.
Al, while
Yes.
you're on that picture, there was one comment from somebody, some critic of yours, saying that the bollards were in the wrong places, and that they would be fixed. But I just want to understand, how does that stuff happen?
This is the finished photo. These have been repaired or put in the proper place. And
How does it happen that they put them in the wrong place?
okay, you see these four bollards right here? 1, 2, 3, 4. They were supposed to be centered between this line and this line. But what the contractor did, he centered them between this line and this line. So they were located improperly. But these are the correct locations for those bollards.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Transformer is now in and hooked up. Going around the building, this is building A South. Siding is progressing. It's ready for window frames now, which will start going in next week. Some of the frames are here. This is the B South. All the glass is in except for these operable, where the plastic is here. There's operable windows. The glass is coming. It was supposed to come to their shop today. So hopefully next week we'll be starting to put these operable windows in. They've been caulking the windows. They've got the, on this elevation, they've got the outer, or actually the middle caulk joint in. That allows the siding contractor to finish his siding on either side of the windows. Moving around to the east side, he's pretty much done except for the, once the caulking and the windows are 100% complete, he can finish his siding at these little areas. But this is the finished siding product here. Going around a little further, he's got the glass in this B-wing south area. He's got the siding done over to the wood siding. Wood siding starts here next week. And he's pretty much done on this elevation with the siding as well. And they're just finishing up the glass on this elevation. This is the gymnasium. It's been AVB is complete at all the window openings and the walls. The fiberglass Z-girts have been installed, and wood E-paste siding will start next week. Same with the A. This is the front of the admin area. All the windows have been prepped for window units to go in, and the E-paste siding will be going on here shortly. Main level A, they have the go ahead now to shoot the drywall, all the walls. So that's been going on, all the door frames. MEP overhead rough is going in pretty well. So it's moving along. Another shot of A wing. These are the photovoltaic panels, which have started to be installed on the sloped roof in B South. This is an interior shot of area B South with the windows now with the plastic removed, except for these two little openings. You start seeing more light come in. We got the inspections for above ceiling, and we started drywalling all the hard ceilings in the toilet rooms. Once these ceilings are complete, we just have to tape the walls for tile, and tile should be starting the week after next. Another one of the single toilet rooms. This is one of the gang, I guess they don't call them gang toilet rooms, so the kid toilet rooms. This is a shot of cabinets being, these are the cubbies or lockers being installed in one of the B lower classrooms. Another shot of cabinets.
Are these cupboards locking?
Yes, I believe every door has a lock on it. Is that right, Jeff?
Yeah, there's a better photo. When I walked through and looked at these, they had all the handles in, had all the locks in. They're all keyed the same, but yeah, everything is lockable. They're just, for some reason, they're not showing up on these photos, but they're there.
Yeah.
On my photos, they're there.
The reason I ask is there's always a problem at the community center with somebody who can't figure out how to make the combination locks work. I'm wondering how easy are these? It's too late to ask really, but I'm just sort of curious.
Oh, you mean the lockers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to pull that and check. I don't know if I don't think there's locks on them. I think it's just a hand latch.
Okay.
It's like a covered cubby, basically. It's for the older kids.
Yep, that sounds like a lot more sense.
Yeah, it's the uppers and the wardrobe for the teachers. Those are lockable.
This is a room there where they're starting to do the.
Yeah,
car.
there you can zoom in and see the uppers have the locks and the handles on them.
Thank you.
This is the gymnasium. They're painting all the trusses now so that the mechanicals can be installed. Very time consuming work doing this type of work in the gym, because it's pretty much all hand painted, because this is a finished ceiling, pre-finished ceiling. Also in the gym, we were able to build these curtain walls that go in here. These are the side walls, but we also have CMU that goes on top of this. This is your the supports for your rope swing, your rope swings, or whatever you're doing there. Yep. And then we've done the spray fireproofing enough to get the masonry in. So that's going to be moving along next week. Started putting the plumbing equipment in. Electrical, they're pulling all their feeder cables now. Once these feeder cables go in, then they can do the guts of the panels, start doing their breakers and tying in individual home runs. Another shot of electrical feeders. And this is the Ipe siding. The gentleman over here that's prepping everything for install. They pretty much come in 4-foot sections, 4-foot pieces, and this work should be going on next week. They've got stacks and stacks of it. So that's it for photos. Anyone have any questions?
Steve? Steve, we can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Al, with respect to the windows, I know we never did the mock-up, but we got the flashing all figured out on that?
Yes.
Great. So all these windows that are going in, they're with that last frame we had last night, they're all pretty dry?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
They actually have, they have the area that we're doing the millwork in, it's got the one bead clock on it now. So that's the most exterior. It's the middle joint, but it's really it's on the outside of the main frame. Yeah, but it's pretty watertight except for the operable windows, but we didn't get any water in.
Hey, Al, when they start to put that Ipe siding up, can you let me know? Because I like to see how they're mixing these pieces.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep. No problem.
And then with respect to the siding, the photos you had where the side of the building is blue and it has the horizontal wooden, I guess, attachment points. I'm guessing the Ipe is going on vertically.
Oh, yeah, I'll go back to that picture, actually.
Ipe is going on horizontally. There are what they call furring pieces that run vertically over the Z-girts. And what that does is that provides a way to hold the insulation in, and the Ipe is going to be attached to the vertical wooden furring strips. They're like basically 2x4s.
In this picture right here, we see horizontal brown, that's the Z-girt?
That's the Z-girt. And then over the top of that are going to be some vertical strips at every, I think 3 or 4 feet on center. And then the Ipe is going to be attached to that.
Gotcha. Okay. And so in between those Z-girts, there'll be insulation. Is there some kind of like moisture barrier? I'm guessing what I'm getting at is if water gets behind the Ipe, is it going to get hung up on those Z-girts and sit against the siding, or is there some way for it to drain out?
Okay, the blue, just imagine this, the blue is the bathtub. Anything outside of that blue, it's okay if there's a little moisture in to get out there. Those Z-girts are placed and they are made of a high density sort of plastic type thing. The
Okay.
mineral fiber insulation is okay if it gets wet. It's not your usual bat. This is a high performance, fire resistant mineral fiber insulation. And then we have the bats and the Ipe on top of that. So I think it's all going to be, if you think of an old Midwestern barn, that's how the old farmers did things. They layered the skins, they layered the envelope up so that interior wise from the sheathing is basically what's considered a bathtub now in these high performance envelopes. And then it's either a back ventilated rain screen system or closed, et cetera, et cetera. So this is proven itself. We've done this 1,000 times, and it's going to be basically watertight and high performance.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Hey, Al, these photos show a big change from the last set of photos that you had, and I'm going to make my request that I make every time. If you can send me these this afternoon, I've got a board meeting tonight, and I'd love to share some of these with the board.
Sure, not a problem.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on that relates to these pictures? Okay, then schedule overview and procurement log. Al, you have updates to share on those?
I don't have a screen. I don't have any screenshots of the schedule.
Anything changed since the last meeting?
The last schedule update that I did, it kind of took into account all the, okay, there you go. It took into account all the material delays. So it's getting more refined. The end date, we're looking for the final A2 survey on 10/25, which is a prerequisite to the C of O. And then we're showing a C of O, no, substantial completion we're showing as 10/31.
And then regarding with the procurement update, there were a few items, there were like half a dozen items that had the red flags next to them. Do you have an update on any of those items? And there's the cooler been ordered?
Yeah, the walk-in cooler, the purchase order was submitted last week. That's the alternate unit. The original unit had a date of this coming November. So we did get the alternate. We did get the CCD for the alternate, gave it to the sub, and he issued the PO to the manufacturer. So it was 15 weeks from that date to get delivered to his shop.
Okay, so then these other items, the linear wood ceilings.
Linear wood ceilings, we do have a date on that. It's a, I don't know if it's shown here.
Not on the last one.
Is this? Yeah, we talked about this at the OAC meeting or ONI meeting today. This was, it's coming in late, but it won't affect the schedule. This linear wood ceilings in limited areas. It's in the main entry. It's the high ceiling, and a couple of small areas around the building and the corridors. So there's not a ton of it there, so it won't be an issue coming in that late. Exterior doors, the only issue we have with, well, the exterior doors we always knew were coming in July, which isn't a problem. The hardware concern is the last revision we got to hardware, the hardware schedule. We're checking with the aluminum contractor now to see if there's any impact, but we don't believe there is. All the interior hardware for wood and metal doors are not a problem. Wall covering, we don't think there's going to be an issue there, but we did get a change to increase it. So hopefully that will not increase the lead time. There is another wall that's being done on the digital wall covering.
These are the large wood, or not wood, large colorful trees, just for everyone's reference of what the wall coverings means.
Right.
Talk about the more cooler.
Yeah, we know about the DOAS unit.
That's still on schedule to be delivered at 7:29 to Sullivan Benson's shop, correct?
Correct. The generator, it's delivering the 7:26, I believe. So that's been plugged into the schedule now as well, and that will not affect.
It says 8:26 on this one.
That may be when it's 100% complete, installed. But 820. Oh, you doesn't have the header on it. No, the generator was always coming late July. Then the fire alarm, that we have all the parts and pieces except for the power supplies, and we're supposed to be getting. We've asked for a submittal on a alternate power supply that they can use, and a submittal to go along with that. And hopefully the supplier will furnish us that information so we can coordinate.
So this October 3rd date needs to be revised based on whatever that product is, correct? Correct.
Yep. Yeah, we need to get the fire alarm up and running so we can get the elevator inspected, and it's critical that we get it sooner than that. We got to be ready, August for final inspections.
To add some color for the committee, now that the DOAS schedule is understood and the freezer delay has been mitigated with last commission meeting CCD, the fire alarm control panel is the current hot button item that the focus is on. I think that's it for the blog.
Al, did we figure out the remainder of the light fixtures?
Yeah, we do have a delivery date of the classroom fixtures. They're supposed to be shipping right now. We did get the bathroom fixtures. Those are those recessed wall fixtures. That's where we were able to get the inspection and get those hard ceilings drywalled. We received the corridor linear fixtures, so that's why we're doing corridor ceilings now. And the classroom light fixtures are supposed to be here within a few weeks, according to the subcontractor.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So some progress on the lighting.
Yes.
Okay, are there questions for Al regarding the schedule or the procurement log? Seeing none, then thanks, Al, for that update.
You're welcome.
We'll move on to the PCOs and procurement review.
Okay, so I'll share my screen again. So we have 5 items for tonight, starting with PCO 75. This is for $4,900 for revised kitchen circuitry. Jeff, you want to walk through this one?
Jeff, we can't hear you. I don't know if you're talking, you're muted.
Yeah, I believe this was some coordination issues that dated back a while ago in terms of the electrical and the kitchen equipment being coordinated. Can you scroll down a little bit? Yeah, I believe that's what that was. Yes, I think it was related to the wall electrical rough-in clarifications for some of the equipment. So it was a coordination. Yeah, go back to the sheet that I had. Okay, yeah. So there were some items in there that they needed to address based on some coordination. So we got a number of credits. We got some ads and some reworking of some things.
So is it relocating receptacles or adding receptacles?
It's probably a mix of both. Removing a branch circuit conduit, adding or changing some circuit breakers in the panel. There was some kitchen hood lights, it looks like, that needed to be done differently. So it happens. It was caught during coordination, so we're taking care of it. It looks like everything is matching up nicely now.
Okay, questions regarding PCO? This is 75, PCO 75R. Is there a motion to approve PCO 75R in the amount of $4,922.73? Kathy, thank you. Is there a second? Madison? All in favor, please indicate. And I can't see everyone. Okay, okay, I can see everyone. Thank you. Any opposed or abstentions? Okay. Okay, thank you. All right, so that's PCO 75. Adam, you're muted. Lost you.
Sorry about that. PCO 79, this is for $1,530 and 10 cents for salvaging some existing cabinetry in Southeast School for the purposes of potentially donating them to Habitat for Humanity. So the cost is for Newfield's crew to come in and actually selectively demolish, remove them from the walls and salvage them and save them so the Habitat for Humanity can take them off. Otherwise, they would be part of the building and just demolished and thrown away.
Okay, so this one is, I'll just make sure it's clear for the community. So this is an optional thing. This would be a cost borne by the project. This would be not reimbursed, with the outcome that some of these cabinets then could be donated to Habitat for Humanity. So there's, so anyway, I put it out for the committee to discuss, but how
this does not impact the new building.
Right. How new are these cabinets? Are they worth $1,500? Who can?
Yeah, Randy, if I may, I mean, I talked about this with Joe, our construction rep, and, we estimated the value if you were going to, buy these new. I mean, they're reasonable cabinets, but it's probably about a $4,000 maybe value total, assuming they come off the wall in good condition, which is always a bit of a consideration depending on how they were hung. So, yeah, and this stemmed from a meeting that we had with the town as far as looking for any opportunities for recycling or reuse. So, we made a commitment that we would explore. We've looked at all the existing cabinetry, and most of it was quite old and in poor condition. This was the only room that had cabinets that we felt had any value for reuse. But again, it certainly is an amount that, again, would not be reimbursed by the state.
So we'll see if the committee is, I would like to know what your disposition is regarding this. Again, this doesn't have anything to do with the new building, but if you're willing to spend $1,500, you can do that to take these cabinets down and donate them. Tony?
We have to pay to have trash taken away. So to some extent, we aren't going to be paying the full price because it will save us some money. I mean,
The built-in cabinets, Tony, are part of the costs from, for demolition. And again, with them going in with a machine and just tearing it down, there's really no value or credit, I think, that would be realized coming back to the project. Some guy in a big loader is just going to take one swipe and these things are going to be gone. So, so we own the value. It's part of the demolition of the overall building. I don't anticipate any credit being realized. So it's no cost savings. It's just an expense to the project.
Yeah, I'm in favor of saving and reusing anything that can be saved and reused.
So the demolition guys, they don't charge us a change order fee?
No, they own this because it's fixed to the walls. Anything loose, all the loose furniture, we're going to be taking out with the movers, majority of which is going to go to the 2 existing schools to make them operational for the fall. Any other loose items we'll throw in dumpsters, but anything affixed to the building, the demolition contractor owns and is part of his cost to just, but he doesn't own selective demolition, carefully removing the cabinets. If some guy in his own wanted to do that, they own them, they could take them away. If you want to donate them, then we have to have Newfield and their staff selectively, carefully remove the cabinets, set them aside. Unfortunately, Habitat will not do the removal. We asked that. They will just come and pick up the cabinets once removed from the wall and placed to the side.
Yeah, you answered my next question. Thanks.
Rich?
I'm wondering if this is like not an all or nothing proposition, or I don't know if that's the right wording, but like if we decide that, yes, we'll try to save them, and we realize as we're starting to, as we're taking them, as you are taking them off the walls, that it's not working. Can we, if we make a motion on spending this and we decide we want to back out of it, can we do that?
Well, I guess maybe that's a question to coordinate with Al. I would think so. I would say, Al, the removal is being done through Newfield and their staff and people. So, if you started taking down the first 1 or 2 and the things were just falling apart, I think at that point we would expect a phone call and say, hey guys, this isn't working. And, there'd be a much smaller charge, considering the mobilization and the guys to come out for a couple of days, a couple hours to discover the cabinets weren't coming off. But the committee would not be on the hook for the full 1,400.
Also, if the committee remembers, the first change order we got was to move these cabinets internally from the addition that was demolished. These came from that area, okay. And you paid us to install them in this area. So they are really decent cabinets. They're in good shape. I would definitely say them.
Okay, so they should move. Okay, if you guys reinstalled them, it should just be, undo your screws and they should come out in the same condition they went in.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to move we go ahead and do this for the reasons Tony said. And I think one of the ways in which we have not done a good job on the demolition is taking care of the demolition waste. So this could be one small step in that direction.
Okay, so there's a motion to approve PCO. This was 79?
79, correct.
79.
I'll second that.
Okay. To disassemble these cabinets. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Then
I'm sorry, who made the motion? And Rich did the second,
Chris,
but who made the motion?
Chris Kiefer made
okay.
And then Rich seconded. Okay, all in favor of the motion, please indicate. Any opposed or abstentions? Okay.
Okay, we're on to PCO 80. This one should be easy. It's a zero cost change order That was a function of some occupancy sensors that needed to change, but the cost was negligible enough that the subcontractor didn't ask for more money for it. But just the change needs to be documented in the PCO. So it's for $0, just to, like I said,
So it's just
formalize.
a different model number, basically, of.
If there's a different component to it, yes, but yes, for all intents and purposes. So it's been reviewed and approved by the design team.
Okay. Chris?
I'll move that we approve it, but I also do want to understand a little better. It sounded like from the description, it reports somewhere else, or it has a secondary condition for operating motion. And so I'd like to understand what the AR does. I thought Jeff might be the one to explain it, but I don't know.
Oh, let's see here. Provide a price to replace and occupying vacancy sensors throughout the project, including auxiliary relay output. All right, so it seems to me that these things didn't have a certain element or needed to be swapped out to make it tie into, the system, the BMS interface. So I think in the end, they were able to get a sensor that did all that at a zero cost, basically.
What is a BMS interface?
BMS is the building management system, which is
Great.
It ties in. Yeah.
Then I'll move it twice. I think it's a great idea.
Okay, we have a motion to approve this. Is there a second? Tony, thank you. All in favor of approving this motion, please give me a sign. Any opposed or abstentions? Okay.
Okay, the last new field PCO is a rather important one. This is the change order for the time extension for the roof deck delay. So if you remember months and months and months ago, we identified that there was an issue with the market-wide fabrication of roof deck. And for this project, we were able to secure the floor decking, but the roof decking for the A and B wings was delayed. The ultimate impact was 28 calendar days, which equates to 20 working days. And so what this change order does is that it formalizes the extension of the date of substantial completion for the building from July 15th, which is where it currently stands, to August 12th. Substantial completion meaning you're able to go in, utilize the building, you have your certificate of occupancy, etc. And similarly extends the date of final completion of the building to October 19th. Final completion being your cleanup items, punch list, paint some items that aren't life safety related, that kind of thing. Obviously, we've been discussing a lot of late about dates in October and November. Understood that those discussions are still ongoing. This is basically I don't want to say a retroactive, but it's a required item to clean up that month delay in the metal roof deck. So that'll formally get us to this August 12th date. The dollar amount, the $11,315.92, is for the extension of Newfield, a portion of Newfield's crew for those extra 20 working days. So when they were starting the job, they had anticipated working on the building until July 15th. Now that time is extended, so you need more of Al and more of Ben, the project engineer, than would have been anticipated if the building was complete in July and you only needed a superintendent and part-time Al and part-time Ben to wrap up the site elements. So the $11,000 is the calculated per diem rate based on their hourly rates times those 20 working days.
And so I'll ask that question first, and then Tony. So the 20 working days, this has been built into the schedule for some time now. So this isn't, we had our schedule update last meeting, and now we're adding 20 days to that.
Correct. So when we were, before the determination that school would not be able to open in the new building on September 6th, there was this August 12th date that was floated around a lot. This is the basis for that schedule determination. So now this is the formalization of that within the contract.
Okay. Tony, question?
So I assume this means that this doesn't account for the delay that's caused by the heating element, which we're still waiting on. So there will be an additional bill for the extended delay that isn't included in this one. Is that correct?
Right. This is just for the roof deck procurement. Anything related to the mechanical unit that you mentioned, that Newfield has started the communications with ourselves, Colliers, and TSKP about that. We still haven't gotten through all of the backup information to determine what that impact might be contractually. So yes, you're correct. That is excluded. Those discussions are excluded from this.
Okay, so the dates in these documents really don't apply.
Apply to the current. Correct. The dates in those documents were to help identify and compartmentalize very narrowly what that impact was. So we're moving past the old date to a new date, and we can start the discussions from there without having another ball to juggle when we're figuring out the dates.
Right. So this means that if they say that the kids can move into the building in mid-November or end of October, I'm not quite sure where it is, that we can expect a further delay, that is not a date that's going to hold.
This is correct. This August 12th date, we have been told by Newfield, is not going to hold. They anticipate receiving an additional extension of time for the DOAS unit, etc.
Okay.
We just haven't identified what that specific extension would be or what the cost would be.
But to be clear, Adam, I think what Tony's getting at is if we have this 20 working days thing, which moves their completion date.
Mm-hmm.
When we contemplate, sometime down the road, the effects of the DOAS unit, there's some potentially delays with that. The schedule that has been presented with those dates already accounts for delays from the DOAS unit.
Yes, the schedule that we saw earlier with Al contemplates all of the DOAS delays, etc., that have been known to date. Al, correct me if I'm wrong. But that's, yes, those contemplated. The schedules that are in the backup materials to this PCO, the last 20 so pages, those are historical schedules used to calculate the 28 days.
Right. So when we saw an end of October date, the DOAS unit is not going to extend that farther as far as we know. Right. That delay is already built into the schedule.
Yes. Everything you've heard about is baked into that schedule we just saw today.
Okay. Does that clarify, Tony?
I hope so.
Okay. All right. Other questions?
And if I may, Randy Scott from Colliers, the overall schedule did anticipate that there still would be some oversight and some work, again, going on until December, planting site work. So there would be some oversight still required by Newfield. Again, if they're only looking at one or two components of the building that are delaying final opening, and certainly site, I don't think we're really anticipating much increase in required oversight services because the majority of the building will be complete. So, these extensions for one or two or three minor items do not require a full staffing oversight from Newfield Construction.
All right, other questions regarding this PCO? Okay, then we want to get this motion right here. So I'll read it out and ask if anybody wants to make this motion. So is there a motion to approve PCO 51R3 dated 3/15/2022? Is that right? And a contract time extension of 28 calendar days for building substantial completion to 2022 and building final completion of 10/19/2022 for metal roof decking procurement delays for wings A and B. So is there someone willing to make that motion?
I'll make it.
Okay, Tony, thank you. Is there a second? Kathy? Then all in favor of approving this motion, please indicate. Any abstentions or objections? Okay, thank you.
The last item up is not Newfield. This is for Nunez, the intersection contractor who's doing the work at corner of Whartonville and 195. So this is a similar situation for that scope of work. This was developed by Derek Delage in the town engineering department. It's an extension of the end of their contract date due to some electrical equipment that goes into some of the sensors, I believe, and some of the signaling. The signaling and all that still functions. It's just there's supposed to be new versions in there, and they're, again, no one can acquire them due to the market procurement issues. So town engineering developed this and reviewed the extension of the time, so that way that contractor isn't in default on their contract because of they can't get the equipment. And once it's in, they'll swap it out with the existing electrical equipment.
Chris?
I'll move we approve this.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second? Okay, thank you, Madison. And again, there's no dollars associated with this. This is just the end date.
Correct, zero cost.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Are any final questions? Then all in favor of approving this motion, please indicate. Any objections or abstentions? Okay, and that's that. Okay, so that gets us through PCO's procurement review. Then this is an opportunity for public input. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the committee? Seeing none, we will then move on. That brings us to adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Chris. Is there a second? Kathy double seconds it. Then all in favor, you say farewell and we'll see you at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy.